Avatar is filled with filler-like episodes of just the gang hanging out, random side characters, each visit, which slowly builds to form the show's narrative. One particular episode in Book 3, labeled The Beach, is no exception and works to be one of, if not the most important episodes in Avatar. Avatar has the unique quality of each character being fully fleshed out, progression, but also regression. This episode works to add depth to a group of characters that suffer from not having enough screen time with their late entrance into the show, Mai, Ty Lee, and Azula. The episode follows this group of teens on a forced vacation, one of the first in many years, as the siblings recount they haven't been to the island in ages. Further, the group decides not to stay at the royal-owned house from Zuko and Azula's childhood, but bunk with Azula's guides, Lee and Lo. Not having a place to properly stay is the first sign these teens aren't well equipped for vacations, but also their poor social skills and their lack of a family setting. For not only Zuko and Azula, but also Mai and Ty Lee, seeing as both of them do not have vacation homes to return to, despite being wealthy enough to live within the same section as the Fire Nation Palace. Social skills is further showcased when they hit the beach. Outside of the obvious example of the volleyball game, Zuko tries to connect with Mai in a way he believes girls want, and not the way Mai would want, highlighting his inability to connect with his girlfriend, showing that the distance between them of 3 years away at sea has eroded at their relationship. Ty Lee can only use others to serve her, and Azula can't sit still. She has to find something to occupy her time quickly, an activity involving her military training and physical skill. At 14, and your only hobby is dominating your opponents, well, moving on to the party is when these four really struggle. Even Ty Lee, the most socially adept of the group, begins to struggle when her half-hearted flirtations backfire and she is surrounded. The only way out of her situation is through violence, not words, showing how even Ty Lee has become affected by her life in the palace and in war. Azula can't talk to boys, Zuko is angry, and Mai is just Mai. Suffice to say, it doesn't end well and all of them get kicked out. The campfire scene is my favorite in all of Avatar and in all of animation. It's simple yet powerful, but most of all puts the finishing touches on these four characters. One of the best accomplishments of the show is the development of Azula's character. Despite appearing much later than her brother, she does not come off as one note or flat. From the start, it is obvious the kind of person Azula is: a leader, a planner, a master of manipulation, and a perfectionist. A viewer can tell all of this from her first few scenes on the boat ride to see Zuko. This episode finishes fleshing out her character, seeing her in civilian clothes, literally with her hair down, surrounded by normalcy. Her worldview consists of her two loyal friends and her brother that she can keep close and manipulate. It's an environment she's comfortable with and in her control. As a perfectionist, she wants to maintain that control. Ty Lee and Mai are both seen talking back to her and snapping without fear of retaliation, which speaks to how close the three of them actually are. This is not a group of convenience or forced friendship. It's one that grew up together, teasing each other, sharing secrets, having arguments, and making up. But they are a group that is splintered. Zuko's 3-year banishment became something glossed over. In the attempt for normalcy, all four opt not to talk about it, an attempt to pick up where they left off. But it's simply not possible, and they begin to crack apart. Riley tries to claim she knows Zuko. It blows up in her face, showcasing what that 3-year gap truly did. As the conversation continues and each character exposes their inner turmoil, Ty Lee realizes her mistake, highlighting the lack of knowledge about the current Zuko and the Zuko she knew growing up. The Zuko she saw as childish, a little dorky, and one she enjoyed teasing along with Azula, is now angry and powerful, overwhelmed by this change. Azula is still relaxed and distant, even in such a heated moment. It's her mechanism for staying cool and not slipping from her perfectionism. She's seen smirking at her brother's turmoil, because this brings her a form of peace. Growing up as their mother's favorite, Azula would often want to see him fall apart, because then it would prove that she's better in some way, that it was a mistake that he was loved more instead. She even boasts her own skill, denying any sob stories, but it still slips that her mother's disregard and neglect hurt her deeply. She immediately deflects it by making light of the moment and never crossing that line to open up to them. But giving that small piece builds depth to her character and further supports her fall into madness after being betrayed, not only by her moronic brother, Azula's words, not mine, but her closest friends. May and Ty Lee even get their own bit of development, changing their status of pretty sidekicks to victims of the war, and setting up Zuko's final breakdown, leading to his resolution and growth. The character that clearly benefits the most from this scene is Zuko, as this is a central building block to his final change from to good. However, Ty Lee and May both benefit greatly. So far, they've been very one note throughout the entire series, which is not to say they were bad. They were my favorite characters the moment they were on screen, but Ty Lee is shown to be only empty headed, while and May is seen to only be depressed but for no real reason. Here we get reasoning behind, we get a different side to May, one that's an angry side, showing that, yeah, she knows what's going on around her, but she doesn't have the emotional ability to care or react because of the chains that are holding her down. And Ty Lee shows that she can be angry and snarky the way she snaps back at May. She's not totally an airhead as we've seen before, but it's more than likely a way she copes with not being seen as important in her own life or having her own name. She tries to give off positivity instead of the negative feelings she's feeling. So that is a quick overview as to why The Beach is such an important episode. It's by far my favorite. I know I didn't touch onto the last scene of them destroying the house. My only thoughts on that is that this is them rejecting to conform to the standards. Instead, they decide to be themselves, and that's rowdy and fiery and totally kick-ass, and I love it.